Yes, and hello everyone that is joining us for the StruSoft webinar today. It is a little bit after 1 o'clock here in Denmark, and we would like to say welcome and thank you for choosing to spend the next half an hour, 40 minutes with us. Today's topic of the webinar is about the newest version of Impact 17 that's going out to you very soon, and that's Impact 17. And we're going to focus today on the Revit design tool, Impact Revit design tool. We want to show you some new functionalities that are going to make your life as a designer way easier with the newest version, Impact 17. I would like to start with presenting myself. My name is Desislava, and I'm a part of Impact Revit team in StruSoft. I connect with you from Aalborg, Denmark, and I have company with me today. And I would like to give the word to Linus, my colleague Linus, to present himself.
Yes, hello, I'm Linus, and I think many of you already have knowledge about who I am, but I'm working with Desi and yeah, a lot with Revit in general. So I will be Desi's sidekick today to help a little bit with the webinar, and I will also answer the questions that might come in. So if you have any questions during the webinar, just use the function to write the message, and I will answer them as good as I can. And yeah, and then in the end we can go through some of the good questions that you might ask.
Great. So me and Linus, we're not gonna lose any more time, and we would like to jump into the agenda for today. So as we said, we're going to talk about the new functionalities for Impact 17, and it's going to take some days to go through all of them. So we decided to focus on the most, I would say, the most important feature that you are going to experience as designers, and that's the way that we draw columns, beams, Hollowcores, and linked elements in Impact 17. In this version, we go away from using only families, but we make it way easier for you by using impact definitions. So today, we're going to show you why using beam, column, Hollowcore, and linked element definitions in the newest version is going to make it easier, faster, and more straight away for you as impact precast designers to draw elements in Revit. In the end, we are also going to mention some other features because we know that you are also here to hear about other element types. So if you're doing walls or double walls or a slab, so in the end we're gonna slightly show you some of the newest functionalities in Impact 17 that you, I guess, will be pretty excited about. We also want to give time for questions in the end, so feel free to write your questions. There is an area in GoToWebinar on your screen. Linus is going to answer, but in the end, we're also gonna take some time to do that. All in all, we plan around 40 minutes. So yeah, I hope you got a cup of coffee or yeah, another soft drink, and you're ready to hear about Revit and Impact 17. Okay, so let's start, and I would like to start with the most important question for today: why we do definitions for beams, columns, Hollowcores, and linked elements instead of just families like we did until now. And the first reason why we do that is, of course, because we want to optimize the drawing process. You know, if we compare the drawing process of a beam in Impact 16, the version that is out in the market now, well, every time you need to have a slight change in the geometry, or you need to add a new parameter, then you need to go into the family. It means you need to open a Revit family. You need to have a knowledge about Revit, and you need to find via Revit functionality the right way to do your changes or to create your new beam element. This is all behind because we want, again, to make it, to optimize the process and to make it faster for you. In Impact 17, you can use the impact tools for creating a definition for those 4 types of elements that we want to focus. And you're going to see how with several clicks with the mouse, with the impact way that many of you experienced impact users know, you can create a new definition, a new beam in your project and draw it. And you don't even have, you need to have a family behind. How we do that, we're going to show just in a moment. Now, this also means another reason why we go into definitions is that we're going to need less Revit knowledge, so to say. So if you have to open a Revit family and you have to edit it, then you need to be aware of what you're doing. It means you need to be a Revit user, have quite experience probably in it. That's also behind in Impact 17, because you as a designer, you have to draw and you want to focus on drawing. It's your administrator, that's probably 1 or 2 people in the company, depending on your size of a company, that is going to be there behind the scenes and organize your impact standards. You need to draw, and a lot of you know pretty well the impact way of drawing. And that's where we want to go closer and closer and closer in Impact 17. So in Impact 17, every element type, every precast element type is a definition. That means that you already know how to work with it. Yes. And last but not least, by going into definitions, we are going closer to this, exploring the full capacity of the impact database also in the design tool of Impact Revit. You know, when you have a family, like we have in Impact 16 for column, let's say, some components of the definition were missing because we have some limitations by using only family. But now in having a definition behind, we can actually go and fill a lot of parameters. It means a lot of data in the definition in Revit that is going to be saved in the database. And as you see in the picture here, this full collaboration also means that once you have a definition in the database, you can import it and draw it in Revit. You don't need a family. In 2 minutes, we're starting with that and show how we do it. But also, once you create a definition in Revit, you can go and save it in the database. You do that already in the design tool and collaborate with the design tool, like many of you have acquaintance to, for example, Impact AutoCAD, preview it there and vice versa. And last but not least, impact production. In the end of this webinar, we're going to talk about linked elements. And there we also introduce definitions. There is going to be a huge change for you that use linked elements, because suddenly you can edit parameters, override parameters of linked elements without even opening the linked family. Okay, a lot of good reasons to go into definitions, but now we're going to move further and see the impact Revit. And this is our interface for Impact Revit version 17. And I'll start with the first element. I'll start with beams and move further with the other types. And the first thing I want to show you is the interface of draw beam command. Already there, you can see that we have introduced the definitions, because when you go into the draw beam command, you're going to see first of all filters. So you're going to find out where your definition is located, and then based on the element types and the section types of the beam, in this case, you're going to see all the definitions that you have in the impact database. And once you show and choose the definition, it's going to be previewed, and you don't even have a family behind. Can you draw that? Yes, you can. And I would like to work with the scenario. So let's say I'm a designer and I'm doing my project, and I have a definition in my database. I don't have a family behind. Can I draw that without having a family? Yes. So what do? I'm first going to definitions, and it's probably in common where it's situated, but in order to have a good discipline when drawing in your project, I would say always import from common into your project, because you might want to edit it, and once you edit, you don't want to spoil it from your colleagues. So let's say we take one definition. We'll take one rectangular beam. It's this one. Right. We take this rectangular beam. This is imported in my project. And here in the definitions, you can see we have family and type. You don't need that to draw it, because at the moment of drawing in Impact Revit, impact based on the parameters that you have in the definition is going to create a family alone. Okay, so here is my definition. You can review it. It's there in my database. A lot of drawing tools use it. Impact Revit, Impact AutoCAD. I've imported it in my project, and I'm gonna go and say draw. So I'm in my project, and it was a rectangular beam. It was this one. So here it is. That's my rectangular beam that I imported from common, or my database common location. I say okay, no family, but we're gonna see what happens now. Impact is reading the parameters, and we are going to create a family based on the parameters. I'm drawing my beam, and here, if we press on it, then we're gonna see that we have a family behind. Here it is. Here's my beam. Probably it's best to see it in a 3D view, right? And Impact has created a family in my project. How you can see that? Probably you can go in structural framing, and here's the family name, rectangular beam, and the type name was the definition name. Okay, so that's one way of drawing in Impact 17. You draw a definition that you have in the database, and you don't even need a family. But what if we take another scenario? What if I'm a designer, Impact Revit, and I have a specific beam section that I want to draw? Let's say I'll draw a beam section now, something that we can't really recognize with the standard beam sections that we have in the database. Something like this probably. Yeah, this is my beam section. It's very project specific, cannot be found somewhere in my company standard. Can I draw that and create a definition out of it and a family also? Yes, you can. You're gonna go into beam definitions again, and you probably want to go in project, right? And I'll give it a name. I'll call it user defined, because when it's something that is so specific, I'll use the section type called user defined, right? And here I'll use this button called pick section in my definition, right? It lights up when I say user define. I cross-select present finish, and here it is, the preview of my section. And you can then finish the definition on your own. Probably just fast going to add some lifts to the beam. It's always good to have some lifts in the beam. It looks more, even though it's a webinar, it looks better to have something that looks more realistic, right? So I'm gonna quickly add some lifts that are defined for a beam like this. So here I chose some casting materials, and in my description I have written how much of a tons each of these casting material can take. So here are some 2 lift points. You can also make some 4 lift points. I'll just add 2 like this, right? 45. So we also have some settings for 4 lift points. And then, yeah, probably you can add some prefix for the drawing name or for the element mark. So here it is. We draw a section on our own. We choose big section, and fastly we created a beam definition that is user defined. Here it is. It's in my project. Now it doesn't have a family, but do you want a family? You can easily create that. You can draw it as we did with this one, but if you want to have a family on your own for this particular somewhere in your project folder, let's say, then you can go back into the definition and use this button called create family. Here, Impact is creating family out of your section, right? And now I guess it's a time to draw this in our project, see how it looks. So I'm going to activate draw beam command again, and I'm going to draw. It's a project, it's a beam. This time was user defined, and here it is, my user defined beam that in this scenario was a project specific. Okay, I'm just going to draw it, and yeah, it is. You can go and find it. Probably it's easy to preview in a 3D view. Here's my section, and we have some lifts, right?
Is
You
it a way
probably
to see which lifts we have, Desi?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because here we have inserted some lifts, but then, as Lino says, probably you might have forgotten it and you want to know, yeah, what kind of lifts do I have? What's the name of it? That's a family indication, but what's the impact name of the lift? Then you're going to go and use this edit beam command. It's in the following menu, and you're going to open it, and then here there is a section called lifts, and then I can see which lift type I have inserted and what's the name of this lift family in the impact system 0161. When we are here in edit beam command, then I think it's good to mention also that it's if you remember in the start, I said that we explore the full potential of definitions in impact, and that's one example of it. See, there's a lot of parameters that you can preview or edit from the definition. For those of you that use Elements Extends, you can also go in here and there's 3 dots and add some extensions for the element. Save it, save the beam, and then this is going to be saved in the database preview 10 PM in Project Manager, right? If you go into section, here you can make a section of the beam. Here I can add a particular a section that's and control the values from here. You can edit the length also. So edit beam command is one answer to your question, Lino. So how do we preview the lifts? That's one thing. Another thing that is good to mention is another things that can happen is that you can edit the length of the beam. You can edit it by edit beam command or just by here, and you can see impact activates the automatic update of lifts. Now here it's probably good to mention that in Revit we have in settings, that's the first following menu here, we have a section called lift settings where we can control on project level if you want to update the lifts, yes or no, automatically, and how much of a change there's need to be in order to update in millimeter and kilograms for the element. Now, what also can happen is that some beams are quite complicated, and by selecting, you can go and delete some of the lifts. And here we have some tool called restore lift, the functionality. As you see there, it says that it restores the lift according to the lift configuration at drawing point. So Impact is going to remember how lifts were arranged when you draw the element. You can press on it, select the beam, and then you get your lift configuration back. And then a third thing could be that you want to edit the lifts by definition settings. Then you're going to use this insert update lift, and take a note that these commands are not only beam related. If it is here in components, then it's used by several elements, for example, by columns. So if I use insert update lift, select the element, and let's see what happens. It's going to read my definition settings, and here I can say I want 4 lift points, right? So we're going to have 4 lift points, or yeah, you need to have the right settings in order to have 4 lift points. But let's try with having it like this, if you want to override the family settings, right? If you want to override the family settings or edit some of the placings around, then you can go and choose again to have 4 lift points, or you can just edit the spacing and any type of any type of settings that you want. So this command is a very useful one when you want to update according to definition, or when you want to override the settings that you already have. Okay, so we're back to 2 lift points now. So if we have to sum up for beams, what we've done right now is that we have imported a beam from Common into our project in Impact Revit and draw it without having a family behind. Impact created one for us. And here we have created a user-defined beam, very project specific. We have created a definition. We have created a family and draw it in our project. Right? And everything what we said until now is applicable also for columns and Hollowcore elements as well. But now when we move further to columns, I would like to show you another functionality that we introduced in 17, and that's load family. So in order to load a family and make a definition out of it, you probably want to, I'm just gonna open the definition creator. This functionality I want to demonstrate now. Load family command. So why would you like to use that? And a scenario for that would be that I have a family somewhere in my standard that I want to use in my project. And I want Impact to read the parameters and make a definition out of it, right? That's one thing. Another thing could be that you have an external partner. They send you families and you want to make column definition out of it. So the first thing you need to do is to go into your project folder, Impact project folder. That's my Impact project folder. Into definitions. Here into Revit 20 definitions, and then Revit 2022. That's the version that they use for Revit. And column. So here I have a rectangular project defined. That's something that, let's say, Linus sent to me, and I want to make a definition out of it. So I have it in my project folder. So I can just go here and create a definition, a column definition. In order to do that, pay attention to the name of the definition that I give it. It's RC 40 by 50 because I know that's the dimensions. Yes, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to use this load family because Impact is opening directly into my project folder and column folder, right? So I can just select it and say open. Impact is going to read it, and here I have a definition out of a family that I've just loaded. Now, why I said that you need to pay attention to the name of the definition RC_40 by 50. It's because the family that you load needs to have a family type 40 by 50. We're going to see that in a while, right? And probably you want to finish the geometry by adding some, we can add some lifts to it. Let's see. Yeah, I have configured some lifts for columns. I can just add 2 like this. And yeah, you can go and edit the lifting, go edit the chamfer, add naming parameters and so on to a column. But that's it. You load the family, and here is your definition, the column definition. Now Impact is creating the definition, and again, I want to point out that the name of the definition has to correspond to the family type. And for those of you that, I know some of you are experienced users in Revit, others are just coming into it. I want to open this family to show you where to find the family type. So here's the family. You press in here. There are my types, 40 by 50, RC_40 by 50. So in order to have an impact definition, when you load the family, this family, you need to name it one of those things, right? So this is clear, and my column definition, now it's ready to be drawn. Here it is. I have it in here, and I'm just gonna draw it and make sure that it's a vertical column, not slanted. Like this, press and escape, and here it is. That's my column. So what we have done right now is that once you have a family coming from outside, want to use in Impact Revit, no problem for that. Just use load family command. You need to make sure that you keep though the requirements for Impact, that the family name, the family type corresponds to the column definition name. So this needs to be equal to this, to the family type. This is one way in that way we introduce a good discipline, a good way to organize your families. So when you have the same names, it's easier for you as a designer, as also as administrator, to keep good order in your standard. Okay, good. So next element type that has gone through a major improvements, that's the Hollowcore. And here in Impact 17, we make it quite easier to make a new Hollowcore definition from scratch. And if you remember in Impact 16, in order to model Hollowcore in Impact Revit, you needed first to model it in Revit to make a family, which could be quite consuming, and sometimes you need to be quite good into Revit, have some pretty good skills in order to form a Hollowcore. But let's see, what's the easiest way now to create a Hollowcore definition from scratch in Impact 17? I would like to give you some tip, especially for you who are designers. In Impact 17, let's take this one here. I'm in my common definitions for Hollowcore. That's what my database has. And you probably have already some pretty good definitions of Hollowcore. So it's a tip from us. If you go here into Draw section Profile, there's one tab in here. You can actually take one existing drawing, so to say, of Hollowcore and draw it on your model. Now I'm in 3D, but It's optimal to draw it in level 1 or level 2, or it's in a plan level, but I think it's going to work anyway. Let's see. Okay, so what I did now is that I have a drawing, so that's my easy way to have a drawing behind. It could be an AutoCAD drawing that you have. It could be something that you self-draw, or like I just showed you, you can just go and use the draw profile. It looks a little bit like this. When you have an in cap in Impact, you can also use the draw profile. So it's something that to make your life easier, especially if you have to create a lot of those. So now we have a drawing of a Hollowcore, and here, in order to make a Hollowcore definition, you don't need to open a single family or model a family. You do it only from this drawing that you have, right? So I'm gonna go into my Hollowcore definitions, and I will go in my project again, and it was a Hollowcore. I'll call it 01, and I think it was 320 millimeter. Description is optional. Field, and here it is. I have totally empty definition, and now I want to show you how quickly I can have the geometry in place. The only thing you need to do is to pick, cross-select from your Revit. So here I have a pick, picking the section, right? I go further, pick the course, select course. I can again cross-select, press and finish, right? Cutting zones. Now pay attention here that by clicking on my cutting zones, that's where I don't want the Hollowcore to be cut if I need to reduce the width of the element. Impact will self-detect the X and Y. So it's no need for you to self-type it as it was in Impact 16 or before. Strands, we need to get some strands in it, and again it's by clicking. Well, in real life you're probably going to go after your machine or your production settings, so you know pretty much where they are, but you're going to do them in your drawing. But what I want to show now is that Impact is detecting automatically X and Y. You don't need to do anything else, type self and so on. Yeah, and once you have strands, you want to go and do strand patterns, lift settings, namings, recess and recess edge. Weep holes is something that is also new in Impact 17, but this is one of the features that we want to focus on later. Yeah, so I probably need to take the material on place, but here I have the geometry for my Hollowcore. I don't need a family because Impact is going to figure it out, going to create it on itself. So here I have my Hollowcore made out of a drawing, and it's that's how it is. It's several clicks and the geometry is in place. No need for family. Now I'm in level 1, so I'll go and draw it just to make sure that everything looks fine with the geometry of this Hollowcore definition. Yeah, it's a project and it's HC01, and I want to draw, I'm just going to draw a rectangular like this. If you want strands, you can do some strand patterns, and you can choose from here, and the same with the in caps, right? Okay, so here my Hollowcores are inserted, and what we just did is that we created a Hollowcore definition out of a drawing, and here they are, our Hollowcores. Good. And last but not least, what we want to focus for today is our last focus for today is the linked elements, because in Impact 17, it's really, really easier to work with linked elements when you have definition behind. And again, we're going to demonstrate this about how we explore the full potential, how we can, for example, edit the linked element, right? First, make a definition, we're going to draw it, and we're going to link it and view the parameters in Project Manager. So I'm gonna start by saying that if you have if you want to have a linked definition, you need to have a linked family behind. It says it itself when we talk about link, because that's not like a typical precast element. That could be what I have now in the project. It's a column foundation, right? It could be something made out of wood. It's not a precast element. So here in Impact 17, when you do linked element, you need to have, of course, a family behind, a Revit family behind. Okay, and my family, pay attention to the name, it's called column foundation. It's in my project folder. So I'm just gonna go into linked element definitions in my project level, and I'm gonna give the same name, column foundation, to my linked element definition. A window opens and I'm gonna say select family. And here I have the possibility to select this. Here it is. And what we can do here, we can give it some material. Could be some steel probably. I can give it a product a parameter, fill something in the product field. A prefix element mark, that could be probably L. The drawing name could also start with L, building information properties, and so on. If I say OK, my linked element definition is ready to be drawn. And I'm going to say draw linked element. It's the first command always in the following menus in Impact Revit, draw. You need to use a definition in Impact 17, and on my project level, I have column foundation, the one that I just selected. L is my prefix, so I'm going to use L1. I'm going to give it L01. It's the first linked element I draw. And pay attention here. Impact is going to read automatically some parameters from the some geometry parameters from the family, fill it out automatically, but I can also give it parameters myself without even opening the family, right? And here in the definition, if you remember, we wrote linked. It's also coming when drawing. Okay, here it is. And now in order to preview this linked element in Project Manager, I need to save it. So save always the third command from top to bottom. And L01, we decided that that's going to be the element mark for the linked element that we've just drawn. What we're going to do is that we're going to open Project Manager and my project in the Project Manager, and we're going to preview the linked element. So what I want to show you here is the parameters of the link. That's what I know a lot of you are interested when you're using linked elements. So we have length, width, and height, and this all coming from the definition that we just drew. Now here probably you want to, here it comes actually the most important part about making linked elements, and that's, can we override the parameters And the answer is yes. And you do that with the edit linked element command, right? So you're gonna press an edit, and I have already pre-selected the element. And here I can give it another parameter, another value for length and width, and for height. I can give it probably some volume. I'm going to say, okay, the only parameter that you cannot edit, that's of course the ID and the element mark. You via edit linked element, you see it's grayed out. Element mark you can do via some impact tools, but not by edit linked element. We edit the geometry parameters or some parameters, production parameters. Now, in order to review the changes that we just made, we need to resave, of course, to update the data in the impact database. And then we're going to go in Project Manager like this, and we're going to say reload model. Yeah, and when we click on our element, now a linked element, and you can see that our changes or overwriting of the parameters has been recorded in the database, and we did that without having to open. And I guess if you need to open such a linked family in Revit, then it's going to take some time, or it costs you some time that you save totally by just using edit command. Because I know from a lot of you, it's not the geometry that is relevant, but it's the geometry parameters, especially those that you preview in our production tools when you go further with linked elements. Okay, so I think that according to as long as definitions are concerned, we've been through the most of them now, and my plan now is, while we are waiting eventually for some questions from your side, to mention some other functionalities for other type of elements that you're probably working with and you're looking forward in Impact 17 to try. If there are some questions, Linus, I think we can take them just in 2-3 minutes, but we can also wait.
Definitely. So just show the last part, and then we can do the questions. So if you have any, just put them in the question section, and we'll bring them up in a while.
Yeah, great. So let's give also people some time to type if they have some questions now. I'll start by map definitions. This is a functionality which gives you possibility to get external models, and once you have external models from let's say your partners, from designers from a company you work with and so on, you are able to map families with impact definitions. So the new thing about map definitions command in Impact 17 is that we have introduced new types that you're obviously missing. That could be pre-stressed beam or pre-stressed slab. So now I don't have any slabs or walls. I have columns and beams, structural framing generally in my project. But new element types are introduced also, you can map them. Now, if you have walls that you want to map, until now it was like that we were filtering out on layers. In Impact 16 we filter out on layers, but in Impact 17 we filter out on thickness of the wall, and that gives you a possibility that you can map. If say you get a solid wall that is 217 width, you can map it to a sandwich wall, you can map it to a its insulated wall is called the one with 2 layers, or just another single layer wall. So no longer filtering by layers, we do with filtering in Impact 17. A lot of new possibilities for you working with map definitions. If you do form slab or double wall, then you can go and try the check producibility command, which is going to check the producibility for those two type of elements. I know a long awaited feature that is coming to you in Impact 17. If you're working with slabs, then I would like to show you in here that let's take this one. This is my common selection, and then in my database I have some slab. I want to show the definition because in the definition of the slab we have made a new tab called connection tab, and this is a feature that is going to give you possibility to predefine how to insert recess and cast in material to a slab. I'm just very quickly going to demonstrate what is it, because this definition doesn't have it, but it's like this. If I want to connect two slabs, I want to insert let's say a cast in material, then I can just choose the geometry and then the casting material. So this is recorded in the slab definition, and then you can go and draw it. If you go in the slab falling menu, there is a functionality called draw connection. For walls, we have freezes. That's some recesses around openings, windows or doors in Impact 17. So and it's coming into even more improvements than that. So that's something that you probably have missed and you want to try out. And last but not least, I want to mention the split double wall command. Some users have wished that, and it's coming in this Impact 17. We have a possibility to split the double wall a little bit like here we have in our sandwich wall and insulated walls command that looks like it. Yeah, so all these are features that it's gonna take at least 1 or 2 more hours to show. So we're not gonna take any more time on that. That's definitely not the last webinar of Impact 17 we do. So you can be looking forward to see some of the other functionalities in the future that comes with Impact 17. Good. And I can also probably take in here. Do we have some questions coming from users?
Yes, we do. And I just answered one right now, which was very interesting. So I will bring that up. So we have looked at a lot of impact for Revit things, and one question was, what is the main advantage if you're like an impact for AutoCAD user to switch to impact for Revit? And what I answered was that we see that a lot of countries and the people ordering the projects require you to have a BIM model so that they can follow up all the details and stuff, which we cannot provide from Impacts for AutoCAD. So that's like the biggest the biggest reason why we see that people are switching, as well as they want to take advantage of working in 3D. It's for many people, especially young people that are just graduating, it's so much easier to get into the understanding of looking at something in the 3D than the AutoCAD 2D. But of course, what we always tell you customers, that if your only goal is to send out 2D drawings, like shop drawings, then AutoCAD is still very full of advantages, because it's very, very easy and quick, and you can manipulate things in other ways than you can in Revit. But it's like, what is the requirement basically, and also what do you as a company want to invest in? Do you have anything to add there, Desi?
Yeah, probably the thing about manipulating, and it's one of the great talents of Revit is that, as Linus mentioned here, you cannot manipulate. You cannot just add a line and then make it look fine on the shop drawing. And if I have to go back to the topic today, that's also one of the reasons why we needed to introduce the definitions for actually the last 4 element types that didn't have the definitions. That's the beam, columns, Hollowcore, and everything else had the definitions before. And again, what definitions do is that you can achieve a precast design in more fast and straightforward way. You don't need to go and try to manipulate or the Revit families, which is going to take a lot of time. Manipulate, or what to say, redraw, edit. We want, with Impact Revit, we want the straight, the impact going here into impact way, because it's a great 3D BIM precast system that we try now to explore to the fullest now in Impact Revit. But as Linus says, it's all about where you are, what type of needs you have in your company, and then it's our sales team that evaluates that for you and recommends you the best design package that we have and tools.
Definitely. Let's see. I don't think we have some more questions that I'm answering, but don't have anything that is relevant to bring up now, I think. So
otherwise, you can see our emails on the screen, and you are pretty welcome to come back to us. And look forward to the upcoming webinars and Impact 17. It's a whole bunch of them we're doing at the moment before the official release of the version. So you always come back and see the recordings of them on our webpage.
absolutely.
Yes. But
thank you very much for a good presentation, Desi.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to Linus for being there and supporting. And I wish all of you a fantastic day. It's a great summer day here in the Aalborg, Denmark, I guess in Sweden as well. So now it's time to say thank you and see you soon.
Thank you. See you.